Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi, as well as our online audience tuning in through iHeartRadio. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, when one of our favorite weathermen and co-host of the Today Show, Al Roker, announced this month that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, I think it reminded all of us that even in the middle of a global pandemic, it is so important for us to be taking care of our health and to make sure that we're checking in with our doctors. However, the Prevent Cancer Foundation found that over one-third of Americans have missed scheduled screenings for cancer appointments. This is something that's very serious, and it's definitely serious for those who are dealing with cancer diagnosis, including men who have metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer, or mCRPC. Here to share with us some great information, not only about mCRPC, but also the importance of checking in with our doctor. We're excited to welcome Oncologist Dr. Nicholas Vogelzang to our program. We're going to talk to him not only about the information you all need to know, but also the importance of making sure that you're putting your health first. Dr. Vogelzang, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Cyrus, thank you for having me. It's a delight to be on your show.
Well, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Well, as I mentioned, we are dealing, of course, with the pandemic, but we also have to make sure that we are taking care of our health. What are some of the unique challenges, Dr. Vogelzang, that men are finding with prostate cancer during this time?
Well, there's really two, Cyrus. The first is picking up the cancer at an early stage, like Al did. He was very proactive. I don't know the details of his cancer diagnosis, but he was monitoring his PSA test, a blood test. It started to rise. He went in to his physicians in New York and had a biopsy and was found to have cancer and has decided to have surgery. And that is a highly appropriate choice. And I'm glad he's doing that. He's selected some great surgeons, some friends of mine, so he cannot have made a wiser choice. There are other men, of course, who already have been diagnosed with prostate cancer and are using the PSA test as monitoring for their cancer diagnosis. And those men should not miss their PSA test. They still need to have PSA tests to monitor their cancer after the diagnosis. So there's really two sides of the equation. The PSA test is done for diagnosis and it's done to monitor. And we don't want to skip either of those equations, monitoring and diagnosis. So we're here today to talk about both of them.
Right. Well, Dr. Vogelzang, I mentioned those who are dealing with metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer, or mCRPC. I honestly had never heard of this form of cancer before. What exactly is it?
Yeah, that's the bad side of the equation. The cancer of the prostate occurs in about 250,000 men a year, and the big majority are cured of the cancer by surgery or radiotherapy. But about 25 to 30,000 men a year die of the disease. And those are the men with mCRPC. That means that the cancer spreads outside of the prostate in spite of surgery and radiation, gets into the bones or the lymph nodes or some other organ. In spite of treatment, the cancer gets away from the cancer, from the treatments, and we have to do other treatments. And we have, at least 10 or more different treatments, but the cancer is a very difficult one to treat, and we have to use our drugs to make that cancer then stay away. We do all sorts of things, chemotherapy, hormone therapy, immune treatments. And the drug that we're talking about today is Xofigo. It's a liquid radiation. It goes in the vein once every month. Xofigo with an X, Xofigo.com. You can learn more about it. It's underutilized. It is FDA approved. It can be given before or after chemotherapy. It's used to extend life and is approved for also pain control. So this is one of the drugs we use in treatment of mCRPC. Unfortunately, mCRPC is very common, particularly in African American men, and so we want to remember that this is a disparity disease, that it is more common in African American men than it is in Caucasian men.
So definitely, that's why we're so glad to have you on with us to share this information. So what advice then would you give to our audience then, Dr. Vogelzang, when it comes to speaking with their doctors about mCRPC, as well as, of course, checking in during this time during the pandemic?
Well, during the epidemic, we're all wanting to shelter in place, but that does not mean that you do not check in with your doctor. We're all doing telehealth, and so we can do telehealth with very simple means. Now, you still have to get a PSA test. So if you've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, you should arrange for a blood test, and you should arrange for your telehealth visit. And at that telehealth visit, you and your doctor can discuss your PSA test. Now, maybe you're cured of your disease and your PSA will be 0, or at least very low. But if your PSA has not been tested lately and you don't know what your PSA test is, you and your doctor need to discuss that. That is an important principle of monitoring your cancer. If you were diagnosed with prostate cancer, you need to be lifelong monitoring for your PSA. I have men who have prostate cancer for 20 years. It's a lifelong disease, and it needs to be monitored every year, at least, if not more often. So, unfortunately, Al is now going to be monitoring his cancer for the rest of his life, and hopefully he'll be cured and won't need to worry too much. But still, we all need to worry about our prostate every year, PSA testing, and then if we do get diagnosed, we still need to monitor it for the rest of our lives.
And that's why conversations like this are so important, even though they're not always easy, definitely necessary and can be life-saving. Again, everyone, Dr. Nicholas Vogelzang has been our guest. He's been sharing with us some very important information, especially as we're dealing with being able to take care of ourselves during this pandemic, the importance of taking care of our health, especially for those who are living with mCRPC. Dr. Vogelzang, you mentioned it earlier, but would you mind giving out that website again for our audience?
It's Zofigo.com.
Thank you again so much for stopping by the program. Really appreciate it and looking forward to having you back again.
Thanks, Cyrus. I'm happy to join you again. Thank
you so much. Hey, glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.